The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Tell Us Why, a podcast for the financial freedom community. In business, we often get so focused on the what, we lose sight of the why. The why is the key to your success. When you know your why, then your what has more impact. Money is the result of our work, but it's our why that fuels it, that fuels you. If you're looking to succeed in your quest for financial freedom, make sure to join us every week as we, along with our guests, discuss different stories of success, how they were achieved, and how you can do the same. And of course, we ask them to tell us why. Here are your hosts, Jack and Mike.
Welcome to the Tell Us Why podcast, episode number 1. Here we are.
You made it.
I am your host, Jack Dalrymple, here alongside my co-host, Mr. Michael Ketchen. Mike, what are we doing here today? How did we get here?
Well, it's kind of a crazy story, if you remember. I sent Jack a random message after our mastermind.
Random.
About 2 years ago, and I said, what do you think of the name Tell Us Why? He's like, I love it. So I love him. We were getting into it, though, and we were kind of connected to this mastermind group, and we both realized that you had just left your corporate job full-time.
Yep.
I left my previous field in education. My wife had left her field. We were kind of living out the life we had kind of envisioned. We met in the mastermind through investing and everything else. And we realized, we really wanted to bring this story out to people and share these resources and share some of the things and the experience we've had. And the whole name behind Tell Us Why was our why. Our why was very personal. And as we go on this journey, we'll get into my why, we'll get into your why. A lot of the guests, all the people we'll be bringing.
I'm not going to lie, it scares me a little bit.
Yeah, well, it should. Your story's a little wacky. But, to that point, so we manifested this 2 years ago, and we have been kicking it around, looking at it. Business has been growing. Things have been going very well. Pandemic happens. I'm sure we'll get into that over time and the stories that go with it.
Sure, it'll come up.
Yeah, but like I said, here we are, and it's kind of real. And now we're hoping to do this, and we want to launch this and kind of get this going and make this official.
Absolutely. But before we dig into what a why is, let's hear from our sponsors and then kick it off.
I like it.
Are you sick of being treated like just another number by large insurance companies? Do you want a more personalized experience with somebody that you can trust? With Keith Monty from Boynton's Insurance, that's exactly what you'll get. Keith is an experienced professional who can design an insurance plan tailored to fit your specific needs. With access to over 30 insurance carriers, Keith is able to shop numerous markets to find a price that works for you. So if you want an insurance agent that you can rely on and one that has your best interests at heart, then call or text Keith today on 978-241-2363. That's 978-241-2363. Keith Monty. He'll get you covered.
So why is an emotional question and it elicits an emotional response? So say you want a promotion at work, you're arriving at work an hour early every day, completing every project the day before it's due. While commendable, it's not your why. It's not the true meaning of what you want to do. Making money or being rich isn't a why. In most cases, it's a result of a well thought out and articulated, written and repeated why. So money is a result. What does the money allow you to do? You need to dig a few layers deeper, and maybe you'll be close to discovering your why.
Yeah, and it's funny, we say that even on my own story, and some of the stuff we want to get into is that, when I transitioned into going full-time with the real estate company, we actually technically took a pay cut, which I think is kind of fascinating. Yeah. That we had talked about this for a couple of years. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. And one thing that I feel like we want to show and bring to light to the public and, show these resources is we got classified as real estate professionals. And there's so many tax breaks and incentives and things that come with owning your own business and being a real estate professional that even though we took a, quote, pay cut, we're actually earning more money and being in a position to full-time invest. And that ties into the financial freedom, the budgeting, getting your personal budgeting under control first, knowing the difference between assets and liabilities, getting classified as a real estate professional. What does that look like? Or again, if you're going to own your own business, what is an expense? What can you allocate? These are all things that were fascinating to me because, you know, and we'll get into my story as we go. As I've told you before, we can always make money. Plenty of people make money. I think making money is not an issue for a lot. However, it's where that money's going, how you're budgeting, how you're sticking with that. And that ties back to what you said a second ago, the why. I was very burnt out in my previous field. We were working very hard at it, and I was exhausted. My wife was commuting to MIT every day, you know, leaving at 4:30 in the morning, getting home at 7:30 at night. And we wanted some goals. We said, you know, she was 27 at the time. I was 30, 31. And we had just turned around to school. I was in education previously. And we were looking for what's next. And we said, hey, you know, by the time you're 30, I want you to be done with this. I want to live life on our terms. I don't want, you know, you to be 65, me to be, you know, 68, 69, and now we're starting to live. Like, there's got to be another way. And I said, we're smart people, we're capable, and if we take that motivation enough, we can do it. And sure enough, we did. And you hit the nail on the head right there. It's, you know, I tell people all the time now, and I think they think you're crazy, because money does help, but money is such a weak motivator that if that's your motivation, you will not get very far. Your why needs to be something that fuels you, that pushes you, and it will change. It will change over time.
It does. It develops.
You know, I would say we're here doing this now.
It's over time, yeah.
We're passionate about getting back to it. Initially, I just wanted to be able to pay my bills from passive income and not work as much, right?
Yeah.
Well, we obtained that. Okay, so what do? Stop now? No, you're going to pivot over time. You're going to change. And we really want to build a community and share these resources and share these stories so we can help obtain these things. And you know how I go, there'll be plenty of rants as we do this, but this is what we're passionate about. You know what I mean? And making these things a reality for everybody. So, you know, that's a little bit about mine. And you know, throw it back to you about, you know, with the personal journey and getting into it. I think you should clear up some of the mistakes and misconceptions that are out there for this, Jack. What do people think about that?
Yeah, I mean, your why is a very personal journey for each individual person. Like, there will be blood, there will be sweat, there will be tears. Well, maybe not much blood, but
might be a lot of tears, though.
A lot of tears. Like, I anticipate losing it on mine, but
yeah,
whatever. But we want to equip you guys with the tools through our guests, through ourselves, to transform yourself into the best possible version of you that you can be. We want to provide you with the resources and motivation to get out of your own way, basically. And success isn't mutually exclusive, and I would actually say it's quite the contrary, right? Like Mike landing another home run deal, like he's not taking money out of my pocket, or the sellers for that matter, but by having people around you that are building businesses, getting fit, or changing the world, you yourself are going to be, in the end, building a better business, getting fit, or changing the world. Like, if you hang out with 5 bodybuilders, guess what? They're not talking about going out drinking on a Friday night. They're talking about protein shakes, new machines, things like that. I don't know why I went to bodybuilders, because I'm so jacked probably. That was a weird reference to make. But, but, I mean, they're not talking about going out drinking, doing drugs, or even building businesses, probably. They're talking about stuff that's going to make them a better bodybuilder.
Well, and to jump in right there, Jack, and we've talked about this a lot, and that's a big thing that you can control right away, is if you've got negative people in your life, if you're surrounding yourself with negative people, it's something that you have to shift. You know, it's one of the biggest things that you can start right now today that you don't have to wait for, is taking control of what you do with your time and the people you give it to and the conversation you let happen. I mean, how many people know there's that person at work who just wants to do nothing but complain, and they always come with a problem and never a solution?
No.
That is an energy suck and a time suck on you.
Yeah.
And I promise you and everyone listening that if you cut that out and you take that personal accountability that we get into, where you are responsible for everything in your life, both good and bad.
Full accountability.
And you basically put up those safeguards and those walls. And I want to circle back to something you just said, because I've gone through it in my own experience as we've grown. You know, we went from this was going to be a fun, passive thing to do to a multi-million-dollar real estate company in a few years.
Yeah.
Relationships are going to change and relationships are going to evolve. And you really have to be mindful, back to that total accountability piece, of who you surround yourself with and what that network's doing. You know, that doesn't mean, you know, you cut these people out, you don't have these relationships, but it might mean that, hey, like you said, are you going to go out, you know, it's a Thursday night, you can go to the bar, or are you going to go to a networking event? Yeah. You know, it's a Monday night, are you going to go to the gym, or you know, you got to do something else? It's those kind of decisions and the people you're associating yourself with. And we're living proof of it. And what we're going to show is the resources, the people we've connected with on our journeys, plus the people we're going to learn and grow from. Because what I find, I'm sure you do too, the more successful I get, I feel like the less I actually know. I have less conviction because there's always leveling up to this.
Yeah.
And, our producer, Chrissy, behind the scenes is nodding her head, so she must like that one. So first compliment we've got. So to that point, I really want to emphasize that you are the people you most associate with. And these are all the cliches I heard when I first got started. And I think, man, what are you talking? None of this is true.
It's like it's chatter. It means nothing.
You're living it. Once you start taking action, once you start taking control, you start to realize exactly that this does manifest. And I think it was Jim Rohn who said he had something great, right?
Yeah.
Something great on it. What was it?
You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The people you spend the most time with shape who you are. They determine what conversations dominate your attention.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And to that point, we all get the same 24 hours, right?
Yep.
How many times do we talk about? We were in Mastermind last night, and we all get the same time. And we host a meetup. We're going to be doing Facebook groups, live events. We're going to be sharing these networks and these resources. And we say every month at that meeting, there are investors in that room who own, $100 million portfolios, down to guys who are doing their first deal, down to lenders who are working with residential buyers, up to lenders who are working with commercial buyers. Everyone starts somewhere. And the first step is taking action, because I will take the person taking action over the person sitting on the sidelines being a, quote, expert. You need to get in the game. You need to start playing the game. You need to start betting on yourself, and it will start to pay dividends. It's not going to happen overnight. But I guarantee if you start taking action and you aim to just be 1% better every day, it will compound, and you will look up a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and you will be so close to the goals you wrote down. And it's all the exact things we're going to get into, and that all circles back to your why. Because there are going to be days you're going to want to quit. There are going to be days you're going to be frustrated. This is hard. This is stressful. But you're making an investment in yourself, and that why is the goal. That is the investment.
Yeah. Just going back to what you were saying about taking action, my first deal, like I analyzed hundreds, probably more than that, of deals. And I had one that crossed my desk, and I was like, consider myself a bit of a contrarian. And I was like, if I don't do this,
huh? That's gentle.
If I don't do this, I am never going to do a deal. And then I was like, screw it. Like, offer went out same day.
And it was out of state, right?
Out of state.
Out of state. You can't even see it. How can you buy it? You can't see it, right?
I don't know. It's scary.
Yeah, and to hammer home that point, be a doer, not a talker. We're doers. And we want to create a community of doers. And honestly, when we sat down and we talked about this is not going to be for everybody. You will start to realize when you make these shifts, when you start to take total accountability in your life and you start to take responsibility for everything in your life, that's not going to go well with everybody. You're going to, it's very uncomfortable. And we say it all the time, right? We grow when we get uncomfortable.
Yep.
I used to say it all the time. If your problems are easy to solve, your problems aren't big enough.
Yeah.
You should be growing every year with your problems.
Yeah. I always like to say, if you're having a difficult decision to make between two things, go with the harder decision. The harder decision, because if it was easy, you would have went with the easier one to begin with.
Exactly. And back to that doers and not talkers, I can't tell you how many people, and it's funny as you grow, it comes to, well, I want to buy investment properties, or I want to start a business, or I want to do this. I want. Well, how about I do? And if you surround yourself with those who are doing and taking the action, it will pay dividends. And those are really the people you want in your circle, the people you're associating with, and having those tough conversations. We're all starting from somewhere. Again, episode 1, I'll put my own, dirt out there. My wife took control of the finances at 26. I laugh all the time. I tell everybody, I'm Michael Ketchen,
Mike's still on a budget.
Big real estate investor. I get an allowance from my own wife every 2 weeks. And I honestly do that, all jokes aside. Obviously we have some fun, but she was in college. I'm working. She's saving. She paid for our wedding, bought a house, and I'm broke every Saturday. Yeah. And I finally looked at it and said, something doesn't add up here. Something doesn't make sense. And I realized she was better at personal finance. Once I realized that and we made that shift, then I got into it and it's taken off like rocket fuel. And, I was in education at the time. I started to become very passionate about it, which is another thing we want to get into as we go on this journey together, is tying this back into education through entrepreneurship and financial literacy and financial comprehension. Because I see that lacking. And I'm living proof of it, you know?
Even after our mastermind for 2 years, I'm not going to call him or her out, but we discovered something about someone last night that was concerning.
Yep.
Huge student loan burden.
Yep.
And no way to solve it. So next Tuesday.
Well, he thinks he has no way to solve it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Seems like no way to solve it.
Yeah, but we're gonna help him out.
We're gonna hammer that out next Tuesday.
And make a plan of attack.
Plan of action and get them going.
Yeah, and
Crush this thing in half within a year or two.
Yeah, and that's what, tying it back into the Facebook group and everything we're building, we want to share stories just like this, because how many people are out there that have, 6 figures in student loan debt and think they can't get ahead? Well, I'm here to tell you, you can. There's no secret sauce, there's no shortcut, but we can put together a plan of attack.
Yeah.
And there's so many resources out there, and I think it's the greatest time ever to start investing, to start learning financial literacy. Because we made a goal in the group last night to share. We're going to cut this 6-figure student loan in debt a year from now. We'll be cut in half because we're going to put together an actionable plan. We're going to show them how to do it. So,
but on the inverse of that, I mean, there's people that make 6-7 figures a year, and they still spend more than they make on an annual basis or a monthly, weekly basis. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. You can make $20,000 a month and still be broke.
Yep. Yeah, and what's the saying? If you give someone who can't balance $1 million, they can't balance $1,000, they're going to be bigger problems than $1 million. Get in trouble.
Yeah.
And to that
That's
point,
why people that win the lottery, they go broke 5 years later.
Absolutely,
you can win $100 million and still be broke in 5 years.
That financial literacy piece is so key. And speaking of doers and not talkings and 7-figure income, we want to give another example. You just closed on a deal 2 days ago. Congratulations, sir.
2 days ago. Officially yesterday. I signed the documents 2 days ago.
One on record. So back to that point about doers and not talkers, why don't you give a little insight into what we're talking about here and a real life example that you're living right now?
Oh, man. Let me count the ways in which it would have been easier just to be like, all right, no.
I'm going to run from this and get out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Again, it's an investment property, an apartment complex locally. Unlevel flooring was what I thought was the issue, but you drop a marble on the floor, by the time it hits a baseboard, it's putting a hole in the wall, so no big deal. But what is it? Bowed walls, structural issues, potential foundation issues, rehabbing every unit, new flooring. First time I actually had to go back and renegotiate a deal. I've never had to do that before.
So what do you mean renegotiate? Explain that a little bit.
So basically, I thought there was a certain number of renovations, which was apparent just by looking at it. Turns out after the inspection, it was a little bit more than I had anticipated.
So what did you do? You ran away from the deal?
So I cried and ran away with my tail between my legs. No, we had a conversation. I'm assuming we had a conversation about it.
We did. I yelled.
Sounds about right. And was like, I can't make the numbers work with the amount of effort that has to go into it. So I had to go back and ask for a little bit, chunk of change off. And surprisingly, it was agreed upon.
So they came down how much? They came down 70, 80 grand off the purchase price, correct?
It was 70 grand. Yeah.
So to recap, in the hottest real estate market of all time, you found a deal that the seller came down 70 to 80 grand. I actually believe this deal was on the market too, correct?
It was on
the market. It was on the market.
Yep.
So you found an opportunity in a market where everyone's saying there's no opportunity, Jack. I don't know if you heard. There's no way to make money right now.
All right.
That's what everyone tells you.
Just going to go watch
all those talkers, not those doers. And to that point, you go back to the seller. They come down $70,000. Then I believe it gets even better because we put our collective heads together. You start to run a pro forma based on bringing the rents to market. And I believe you walked into how much instant equity once this thing stabilized?
A lot. It's gonna
6 figures plus.
6 figures plus, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I bought it $200,000 under appraised value or assessed value.
Yeah.
So that's a good indication that we get some room.
So that's some of the stuff we want to get into as we build this community. Is that here's a guy. There's no guru. There's no coaching. There's nothing like that. You find this deal in a market where everyone says there's no deals. You negotiate this deal where they say there's no deals. You made, by moving money around, $200,000. You actually had people invest with you, so you're actually not coming out of pocket for much. Now this thing's going to spit off a good amount of cash flow every month, plus that equity and that debt pay down. And as a real estate professional, you're going to get some tax advantage on this too, I would imagine.
Very much so.
So that's a little bit behind the scenes of some of the stuff we want to bring and talk about in this community. Some of the stuff we'll have with different guests along different businesses and things like that. And what we're hoping is that if this type of stuff interests you, if you want to start taking control of yourself, your finances, if we can help you at all define your why, come be part of this community. Come check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Tune in every week as we record one of these episodes, whether it's just the two of us, whether we have on a bunch of great guests we have lined up and a bunch of great resources.
This format's a little different, just to give you the overview of what a why is. Next week, actually, it's going to be Mike and I again.
Oh, we're going to start doing our stories for the first two episodes.
The first two, yeah.
Yep.
But each week after that, we'll have a guest in there and hear their stories, hear what their whys, and what they're all about.
So where can they find this first episode? Chrissy, it's on YouTube and Facebook.
You're going to be able to find us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Podbean. All the links are in the description below. We also have some really good resources for today if you want to know a little more about defining your why or what the why really means. I know that Mike sent me a clip, but when we were first hashing all this out, and I was like, okay, I think I get it. And then he sent me this amazing video from Michael Jr. About knowing your why.
Yeah, check it out. I think that's a
That
must
thing
watch.
is amazing. And then we also have Simon, if I'm saying it correct, Simon Sinek.
Yep.
His resources there for Find Your Why. So there's links for both of those in our descriptions below. And there's also links to all of our social media. So follow, share, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Facebook, YouTube, and Podbean. And very soon, once we get past the first few episodes, everywhere else you listen to your podcasts.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you back here next week.
Can't wait.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.